That's right, you guessed it. It's Nick Dutch here yet again with more talk on the wonderful Mystic Tarot and precisely what it means. Oh, okay, this is just one system of interpretation of the tarot, one set of ideas as to what the tarot means. There's a wide variety. I mean, there's thousands of books on the market as to what tarot means. I'm using the Oswald Wirth Tarot as the means of expressing the meanings of the tarot and the mysticism behind it, because the Oswald Wirth Tarot is regarded as being one of the most historic, one of the most accurate in terms of real interpretation. Now, what I'm going to have a look at now is the seventh card. We've had a look at the Lover's card, number 6. Now we're moving on to the Chariot. Okay, let's just have a quick look at the symbolism again, because obviously this is a symbolical language. From the top, literally, we got a canopy. We can see that there's 3 stars on each drape. There's 4 drapes. That means there's 12 stars on the canopy. That's a repeated motif, and this particular card is full of them. What are the 12 stars about? The 12 eons, and the 12 ages, the 12 astrological signs, the powers of heaven above this particular character. If you look closely, he is within and also above, so to speak, 2 cuboid shapes. One is made up of the columns, the pillars around him, and one of which he's standing on from waist down. Okay, so there's 2 separate meanings to that. One is the device used for the invocation of spirits as in Solomonic magic. The other is the 3-dimensionality that we mentioned in the previous cube symbols, talking about the physical world. So he's heavily implanted in the physical world, he's trying to rise above it, but he still can't get himself completely free from all of that. Now, look at his face for a second. Well, sorry, there are 3 faces there, alright? 2, one on each shoulder, and one in the middle, which is, of course, the face on his head. What's that talking about? Past, present, and future. But the interesting thing about these faces is, sure, there is anticipation of the future. Sure, there is awareness of possible futures. Sure, there is reflection on the past and knowledge of that. The main organs of perception, his own eyes, are looking straight ahead. So he's focusing primarily on the here and now, but with extra knowledge of past and the future. Let's go into this in greater detail. Alright, now, next thing we can have a look at. Again, he has a baton, a very peculiar baton, the top of which seems to have something almost like a human head, alright, because it's got some flesh-like colors upon it. Maybe it's not actually a staff of war, but a juggler's stave. So there's a sense of humor and irony, satire, and a sense of challenging there. Actually, upon the body of the chariot itself, we've got 2 wings with a circle in the middle, which is an ancient Egyptian sign which people have connected with various deities, including Horus. A very much, I suppose, warlike, and also a feeling of the risen God in many different ways. But beneath that, and that's the other interesting thing, we've got the vaguely cup-like shape with something representing or resembling a dagger inside it, the male and the female genitalia, so to speak, in unity. So once again, we have more reproductive symbols in the chariot figure. Now, unlike the Emperor card, despite the fact we've got a warlike character, you know, a very powerful warlike character, this one is not above the battle. This one is not above the war. This is a young character. He's not bearded. He's someone in his prime of life who's going through the challenges of fighting for himself. The number 3 is echoed again on his tunic with the 3 buttons around his waist. It's echoed again on the top of his head with the 3 stars, and we have the 5 stars of the 5 senses in the chevron covering his chest. So again, very aware of the here and now, very much thinking about the physical world. So this is another state of being, which is talking about awareness, focusing on what's really important, knowledge of where you are, what you're about. Yes, we have a supernaturalistic method because of the shape of the chariot itself. But we've also got much more there. Now, is this an actual pictorial representation? Is this like a photorealistic representation of an object of war? Absolutely not. Why isn't it? Because we have the Sphinx symbols at the bottom. What are they talking about? Well, I'm sure you know your mythology. You know the riddle of the Sphinx. What creature has 3 legs in the morning, 2 legs at lunchtime, and 3 legs in the afternoon? Well, that's man, because he crawls like a toddler when he's a baby, and the prime of his life he walks on 2 legs, and in the afternoon of his life he walks with a stick. Alright, so this is talking about self-knowledge, but we've got 2 different sphinx of different colors with different designs and patterns on them, talking about 2 opposites. So that is, on one side of things, a reference to the 2 pillars that we've seen in the previous videos. Again, very strong sexual ideas, very strong male sexual ideas. But there's much more to it than that. These are animals talking about knowledge. This is talking about self-knowledge and self-awareness, not just taking one point of view into account, but taking many points of view. But the peculiar thing about these 2 sphinxes is they are joined in the middle. It's a creature with 1 body, 2 heads, 2 sets of breasts, and 2 sets of arms and paws. So it's pulling in 2 separate directions at once. So the charioteer is actually rather confused and not quite sure which direction to go in, but he's trying to use his knowledge, his self-knowledge and his self-wisdom to be able to overcome any difficulties. So again, a very, very compelling set of symbols. The number of this card is 7, which some people see as fortuitous. Within a lot of the ancient magical and angelic systems, number 7 represents the 7 archangels of the 7 planets, the Sun, the Moon, Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn, in that order, corresponding to the chakras: crown, third eye, throat, heart, solar plexus, the one beneath your belly button and the one at the base of your spine. Okay, so that's again a very powerful mystical union symbol, and there's much more to this than meets the eye. Now, because again we've got a young figure and not an old figure, I mean, if the figure in the previous cards is the same one as this one in sequence, then he wouldn't just be old, he'd be dead by now, he'd be a skeletal figure. But by this card, by the 7th card, this is a young character. So, does life always go in a fixed pattern? No, it doesn't. Sometimes you can end up back to where you were. Sometimes the question of starting again and having to take a different attitude, and the charioteer is talking about a different attitude to life. So, so just take in the symbols bit by bit and think about them. The other interesting thing is the fact that you got wheels on either side of this chariot, and they don't necessarily look like proper wheels. It doesn't have spokes you can see through. These are solid discs with different colors on it, red and white. So you know, we got more power there. Red can be symbolic of Saturn, and white can be symbolic of purity. So that's the extremes of the crown etheric sphere, and the lower, dare I say it, the lower base drives, also combined with wisdom and knowledge. So again, the charioteer is a very confused figure. That's where the conflict is. When the charioteer comes up in tarot readings, we always say there is a sense of conflict, but there is going to be victory as a result of that conflict. It can be serious internal strife. And by analysis of the complexity of these symbols, we can start to see why.